Wisteria Lane. The name itself held a certain saccharine charm, conjuring visions of blooming purple vines and quaint picket fences. In reality, it was a cookie-cutter suburb, a sprawl of identical houses with meticulously manicured lawns and mailboxes overflowing with identical flyers advertising the annual bake sale. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, where secrets seemed to wither under the relentless gaze of afternoon sun. For 12-year-old Maya, life on Wisteria Lane was a comfortable routine. School, homework, gossip sessions under the shade of the old oak tree, with her best friend Chloe, and endless reruns of sitcoms on TV. It was predictable, safe, a world where the biggest concern was getting the perfect shade of pink for your summer nails. That was until Chloe confessed her secret one Tuesday afternoon, her usually bright eyes clouded with a fear that chilled Maya to the bone. It started subtly, a faint rustling at the edges of sleep, a whisper that brushed against her ear like the caress of a spiderweb. At first, Chloe dismissed it as a dream, a figment of her overactive imagination fueled by late-night horror movies. But the whispers grew bolder, weaving their way into the quiet of the night, a constant, unsettling presence. The voice was indistinct, a murmur that danced just beyond the grasp of comprehension, like a forgotten melody on the tip of your tongue. A primal and unwelcome guest took root in Chloe's heart. She didn't dare turn on the light, fearing whatever lurked in the shadows might solidify, take shape. Instead, she buried her head under the pillow, squeezing her eyes shut, willing the whispers to disappear. But the voice persisted, a relentless drill boring into the silence. Maya, usually the voice of reason, found herself unnerved. The sterile perfection of Wisteria Lane suddenly felt suffocating, the whispers a dark stain on the idyllic canvas of their lives. Chloe's fear was contagious, a cold, creeping sensation that wormed its way under Maya's skin. She tried to rationalize it, attributing it to stress and all that. But the raw terror in Chloe's eyes defied logic. Days bled into weeks, and the whispers continued their nightly assault. Chloe became a ghost of her former self, dark circles permanently etched under her eyes, her laughter replaced by a constant, low hum of anxiety. Maya, determined to be a good friend, suggested a sleepover, a refuge from the encroaching darkness. Chloe hesitated, but the prospect of not being alone seemed to outweigh her fear. Friday night arrived, a stark contrast to the usual weekend revelry. Pizza boxes littered the coffee table, remnants of a half-hearted attempt at normalcy. As the last rays of sunlight bled from the sky, casting long shadows across the room, a strange tension filled the air. Maya forced a smile, chattering about upcoming school events, desperate to distract them both from the unspoken fear that hung heavy in the silence. Around midnight, as exhaustion finally started to win, the whispers began. A faint rustling, a sigh at the edge of hearing, then a voice so low it was almost subliminal. Maya froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. It wasn't loud, but it was undeniable, a presence in the room with them. Chloe whimpered, burying her head under a mountain of blankets. The whispers grew in intensity, a rhythmic murmur that seemed to originate from all corners of the room at once. At first, Maya dismissed it as a bizarre auditory hallucination, a product of a shared fear. But then she realized what made the whispers truly terrifying. It was a string of numbers, repeated at a slow, deliberate pace. The day after this, Chole Maya with a horrified glare. She figured something out. A chilling certainty settled over her. The whispers weren't random, they weren't just numbers. It was a countdown. A countdown to what she didn't dare imagine. Days turned into weeks, and the countdown continued its relentless march. Maya, sworn to secrecy by a tearful Chloe, kept the unsettling truth locked tight within her. The school became a blur of unfocused lessons and stolen glances at Chloe, who grew paler and thinner with each passing day. The number dipped lower with each night, a stark reminder hanging in the stifling air of Chloe's bedroom. Fear, a suffocating presence, became their constant companion. They clung to each other, a fragile raft in a sea of mounting dread. Days went on, the countdown a constant, unsettling presence in Maya's life. Chloe grew paler and frailer with each passing night. The once vibrant girl seemed to shrink into herself, her eyes perpetually glued to the shadows that danced across her bedroom walls. Maya, ever the pragmatist, tried everything. Researching sleep disorders online, trying to make Chloe to visit doctors, and even resorting to spending nights at Chloe's house with a flashlight clutched in her hand, a shield against the unseen. Yet the whispers persisted, an unrelenting tide against their sanity. The numbers dipped lower, the urgency in the voice growing more pronounced. The once rhythmic murmur became frantic, a desperate plea that sent shivers down Maya's spine. Sleep became a luxury neither of them could afford. The once comforting silence of the night was now a terrifying void heavy with anticipation. The once predictable life on Wisteria Lane had become a twisted nightmare. One morning, Maya arrived at school to find an empty chair where Chloe should have been. Panic clawed at her throat. A tense hush hung over the classroom as the teacher announced Chloe's disappearance. She had vanished from her room sometime during the night. No signs of struggle, no leads, gone. The perfect picture of Wisteria Lane began to crack, revealing a darkness that had been lurking beneath the surface all along. Panic, raw and primal, clawed at Maya's throat. The whispers, the chilling countdown, it all suddenly made horrifying sense. They weren't just whispers. They were a chilling prophecy, a harbinger of something monstrous. And that night, the countdown might have come to zero. The neighborhood transformed overnight. Police cars swarmed the usually quiet streets, yellow tape cordoning off Chloe's house. Fear pulsed through the community, a tangible entity that choked the air. Parents held their children closer, eyes darting nervously at every shadow. As for Maya, she felt adrift in a sea of uncertainty. Grief for her lost friend warred with a gnawing fear that refused to be ignored. Maya sat hunched over in her room, the weight of the world pressing down on her. A familiar chill crept into the air. It started with the faint rustling, the sigh, and then, in the pale moonlight filtering through the window, the once comforting shadows of her room seemed to writhe and twist, eager to claim their next victim. And through a chorus of raspy voices, a single terrifying thought pierced through Maya's mind. Her own countdown had just begun.